Welcome to Northern Talks.
I'd love to introduce to you our close friend and business owner, entrepreneur from the UK, now relocated to the UAE, Kam. Nice to have you on.
Cheers, thank you very much, lads. It's nice to be here, and looking forward to having a chat with you.
Good stuff. So, just for those people that don't know who you are and where you're from, where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town called Darwen, which is in between Bolton and Blackburn, about just a little bit down the road from Saqib, to be fair. I was born there, and then I spent up until around, I think it was around 20, 21, and then I moved to Manchester, into Salford Quays. So I spent all my childhood in Darwen, Lancashire, and then moved to Salford Quays in Manchester. And then literally spent all the rest of my life the majority of my adult life in Manchester, and then through to South Africa, and now to Dubai.
So we're going to touch on South Africa and Dubai and the journey, but I kind of want to stay on and stick on to Salford Quays, because it's I know people say it's a small world, but from where your office was to where my office was, and obviously we've not known each other since back then in the past, but we were literally a street away. So I was on Bridge Street in Deansgate, and you were on.
We were on the main road on Deansgate.
Yeah.
So number 86 Deansgate, just next to
Flannels, was it?
Asa Fraser.
So the living room used to be there back then, and then like a couple of other restaurants and that kind of thing. But we were literally like probably walking distance from your office, which was pretty crazy.
I want to touch on your business and what exactly you were doing, but I want to ask you a question. Were you always entrepreneurial, or did someone actually push you into business, or who was that person behind you? Because I know when I look back at my journey, I kind of had a mentor or mentors around me that I kind of picked up stuff from. So I kind of always wanted to know that from you. Like, was there someone there?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think that I don't think I'm from like an entrepreneurial kind of background and stuff.
Okay.
My dad worked in a wallpaper factory and worked there for 25 years. And growing up, we never really saw anybody who had like their own businesses or that kind of thing. So I don't think there was many people who we looked round to and thought, okay, they were an inspiration. However, once I started working, and I saw. And I worked in a bit of a corporate environment to begin with. I worked for O2. And then when I came out of the corporate environment and started working in a salesy environment, I then saw people who were running their own business, and it absolutely fascinated me. It fascinated me, like watching them, how they operated, and how the computers worked, how the phones worked, and everything like that. So I think there was a few people who I worked for, that inspired me to think to myself, okay, if they can do it, then I can do it as well.
And with these guys that were working with you at O2, would you say?
No, one of them was. One of them was a guy called Pete Amwar. My business partner and also my best friend since then, really, since working at O2. And then also my brother who got me a job at O2, older brother. He was working for me at O2, working with me at O2, and then afterwards we went and worked in a sales environment, and there was another guy there who ran the operation.
Call center, was it?
Yeah, call center it was. Yeah, selling mobile phones, basically.
Mobile phones.
Over the phone.
Cold calling, basically.
Yeah, pretty much cold calling.
Wow. And I'm guessing this way I wanted to bring you in, Sucesss, because he mentioned Pete, and I've heard this name flying around a few times. So I'm guessing you know Pete as well, then.
Yeah. Because that's where it comes back to, because that was my first ever job. I was still studying at the time, if you remember. And, funny enough,
Saqib was one of my first employees ever.
This is mad. So go on, talk to me about that, Sucesss. Like, how did that start?
Imi, your brother Imran, he's the one who bought me. I still remember. And even my interview, I wore a pair of jeans, I had a shirt sticking. I didn't know how to go to an interview or anything like that. You're talking 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And I turned up, and the guy interviewed me saying, why have you come dressed like this? And I go, I've never been to an interview before. And then it was just because of Kam and his brother Amy that I got the job. That literally, I just kind of, I didn't do anything in the interview. He told me to sell him a pen. I didn't think I did a good job. And then Kam and Amy go, listen, we're going to give you the chance. Listen, just make sure we'll tell you how to dress when you come to the office.
Yeah.
And just from there, everything was like, that's my first ever job. And the rest is kind of history. Yeah.
You were so young at the time. Like, I remember, it's going back a while now, but it's, what, is it 20 years ago? Maybe longer than that?
23 years ago. Yeah.
And like, if I remember, Saqib was one of the youngest in the office, and he was like 17, 18 maybe?
About 18, 19,
I think you were about that, yeah. But like really, really, really young coming into the office. But honestly, like as soon as, and I'm not just saying this because he sat in front of me, but as soon as he come in the office, really, really humble, come in and he put the headset on, he started working, and he never pretty much took it off, never got distracted with anything else. He's basically one of the hardest working people in there at 19 years old. And he just looked at him and he just thought, this guy, if he keeps this up, he's got, you can just tell, like I've employed a lot of people in my time coming in and out. And every now and again, you come across people who you just look at, just from the body language, everything like that. You can just tell that they're going to do something. Yeah. They're going to do something. So
no, I like what you just said, because now I want to touch on how you started the company in, was it Deansgate your first ever office?
No.
This is where I want to
I don't know how far back you want me to go. Like, I mean,
I want to know where you first started, because to give you a bit of context, when I first started, I remember my office was a box room. It had three, and it was a serviced office, 3 desks, and I was paying per desk. And then I grew the business. But I'm guessing from what I wanted to ask was, at that time you left O2 or that call centre, that first office, I want to walk the viewers through that journey.
So I left O2, and to be honest with you, like I loved being at O2. It was fantastic, because prior to that, I just had jobs in Darwen, which was just, it's a very small town and whatever. And when I worked for O2, it was in Bury, so it just felt like completely different. Like I wore a shirt and a tie and a thingy, and prior to that, there's not the best jobs. So then I left O2, and then I went to work for one of my brother's friends who was he just opened a call centre, and he was like, you've worked at O2, I'm going to open this mobile sales company. It's going to be like phones for you. We're going to ring people up, and we're gonna sell them mobile phones. And I walked in, and I was just fascinated, like I said, by it all, like the desks, the way that people were stood up and they were dialing and they were pitching and then putting the sales on the board. And literally, I looked at that and I just thought to myself, and I even went back to have a look where all the wires and the dialer system went and everything like that. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. So I left O2 after 3-4 years of working there. And I went to work for this other office, this sales company. And we did really, really well there. We became one of the fastest growing businesses in the UK. Wow. I think we got an award for it or something like that. But anyway, my role started off as a sales manager, and then a floor manager, and then like a call center manager. And then at that point, I just thought to myself, I never thought anything to myself at that point. I also thought, I'm going to carry on doing this. But then the guy who owned it, like something changed within the business. He didn't want to do it anymore, or the people we were selling phones for didn't want us to sell phones for anymore. The market changed, and he was like, okay, I'm going to close it down. I'm going to leave or whatever. And at that point then, I just thought to myself, right, I've done this for somebody else for a few years now. I've managed the team. I've managed the floor. If I can do it for somebody else, I can do it for myself. And then I sat down with Pete. We sat down in my apartment, and we just thought, right, okay, let's go and do it. Let's go and open up a sales company selling mobile phones. No reason at all why we couldn't do it. And for one reason or another, Pete ended up not doing it. He ended up getting a job, and I was just like, it doesn't matter what, I'm going to do it. So then we went and rented an office. It's almost just on the outskirts of Manchester, and to get to it, you had to climb up like 4 or 5 sets of stairs. And Saqib, and Saqib was one of my first employees, and it was probably a room, maybe just twice the size of this, with no windows in the side, just windows in the city. It was just like it looked like somebody's attic bedroom.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. You're literally facing brick walls.
Exactly. And so I got all these desks from like a supermarket. I bought the desks and the chairs from a supermarket, and I put them all around. So then I had like a few employees, and everybody would just be sat looking at a brick wall. Everyone would just be, and I'd be sat there in a desk in the middle, going, right, guys, let's do this. But like. And it was terrible the first. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It was okay for a first office. But my brother helped me. He got a credit card. He paid the rent, and he came on board for the first couple of weeks or whatever. And then I think he thought, this is like, he's quite a corporate guy, and he was like, this is not corporate enough for me. And we did, and then I think he got another job. But then I carried on, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved getting up in the morning. I was the first and the last out, looking at everybody doing sales and putting the numbers on the board and calculating how much money we're bringing in, this, that, and the other. But it was really, really humble beginnings. Like, you struggle to get 10 people in there.
I was just going to ask you a question about, did you ever think about quitting? But the more I hear your story, I get the feeling that you've got this unbelievable grit.
Yeah.
You can't quit. You just got to keep, because everyone 100%. Around you was leaving. Pete was leaving, your brother left.
Yeah.
At any moment in time, a normal individual will be like, you know what? This is probably the lowest moment of my life.
Yeah.
People around me are not believing in, not necessarily not believing in you, but not believing in the business to stick with it.
No, definitely. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, at the time, it probably was one of the lowest periods of my life. But then after that, I had other instances through business which became even lower than those. So,
can we touch on that, please?
Yeah, of course, we can. We'll go through them. I mean, the thing is, like, so I was working in this business, and I was doing, like, I thought I was doing really well. And like Saqib was working for me. There was another one of my friends called Stuart, who turned out to be my business partner as well. He was working for me, and we were all doing. And we had these few people. And honestly, for the first month, like after I did all the numbers and stuff, and we made £10,000, and I was like, wow, why have I been like literally like working my guts out all my life? And I used to in the sales call center, like we used to start at like 9-10 o'clock for a meeting, and me and Pete, we'd still be there at like midnight. And sometimes even through the night, where you'd get your bonus based on the number of phones that came in. We'd still be there like packing boxes at like 2 o'clock in the morning, sending these phones out. So I was like, why have I been doing all this when this just seems so easy? And we did all right for the first month. And the second month we did well as well, and then the third month we did well. And every time we just did a little bit better. And I thought this is really, really easy. And then all of a sudden I got a call from the people that were running the offices, and we were using their phones at the time. And they were like, we've been incorrectly billing you. And I was like, what do you mean you've been incorrectly billing you? They said, we've not included your call charges, or the majority. We only included the call charges for one phone instead of for all 10 phones or whatever that you've got. I was like, right, okay, how much have you undercharged me? And they said, like, I think it worked out to something like £10,000 over the 3 months. And I just...
Are these local UK to UK calls?
Yeah. We made a lot of calls, remember. We're a call centre. So everyone was on an automatic dialer.
And this is before VoIP, right?
So so it was before VoIP. So it was all like almost like through analog and that kind of thing. And literally the way that our dialer would work, like our phone would ring, you'd pick it up and somebody would be on the other end of the phone. But anyway, they turned around and they said that you owe us £10,000, and if you don't pay us by the end of the week, we're going to cut your electricity off. And I said, you can't cut my electricity off. I've got 10 employees, and if you cut my electricity off, then I'm not going to be able to pay them. There was like, you either pay us or we terminate your contract and you leave the thing, this, that, and the other. So I was in a bit of a dilemma. Me and my business partner Stuart, we drove around Manchester and we ended up in Salford, Lower Broughton. I don't know if you know.
I've heard of it.
Lower Broughton, yeah, pretty rough area of Manchester. I think probably the roughest area of Salford. To be honest, one of the roughest
states, yeah.
But anyway, we ended up in Lower Broughton. And was basically just looking for an office, and we saw a sign outside where it said office for rent. So we walked in, and there was a lady there. Clearly remember, she worked for Salford University. She was called Sheila, and she said, and we explained our situation to her. We said, these guys, we said we're not going to be able to pay them, or if we do pay them, we're not going to be able to pay you any rent for the next 2-3 months. And she was like, okay, yeah, fine, don't worry about it. You seem like really nice lads. Bring all your stuff in here. And that's just what it's like. Like, obviously, like, you know, back in the day in Manchester, in Lancashire and that, like, and she just said, you seem like really nice lads, and like, don't worry about us. You can come bring all your stuff here, and you can work from here for 3 months without paying us anything. And we just looked at each other and was like, what? And she wasn't like a business person. She was more like a dinner lady, or more like your... more like an auntie, do you know what I mean? Trying to look after you and stuff. And it was just so nice. So we packed up all our stuff from there. I moved it. It took us a couple of weeks to get set in. So I moved it all into my apartment and then moved it to the office in Salford. We set up there, and then we carried on doing the call centre, but we started doing something else, which was like back in the day, you could claim back bank charges. Okay. And so we're ringing people up and saying, do you want to claim your bank charges back? If we get them back for you, we'll take a percentage and that kind of thing. And we did quite well at that, to be fair. And we did well in Salford, and we went from having like 10 people to having like 60 people.
Wow.
And
this is in Little Broughton.
in Lower Broughton, sorry, we had 35 people we had in Lower Broughton. And the office was actually quite big and really, really good facilities in there. And it wasn't expensive at all. But we worked there for a while. We were there for about a year and a half doing this business, and it went well. And then eventually we were claiming back bank charges. So HSBC got in contact with me, and they weren't super happy about us claiming back bank charges. And I used to use them to take payments and that kind of thing.
Right.
And they said, you need to stop need to stop doing claims through us. And I was like, I was pretty young. I think the first time I opened my first business, I was like 24. So at that point, I was like 25, 26, something like that. And I was like, no, I'm just going to carry on. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. But anyway, I came into the office the next day, and they'd stopped all my bank accounts, stopped me from being able to take any payments or whatever. And they said, we're putting all your accounts on hold. And I'd even bought a car. I remember I'd even bought a car. I drove down to Wales. I'd bought a car, brought it back, I'd done the transfer. And then this guy rings me up and said, the transfer that you didn't go through. And then I went to take a payment. Nothing worked in my bank account at all. And then HSBC froze my accounts for like 6 months until they said they held it for clawback or whatever it may be. But I couldn't pay anybody. So again, then I had to let everybody go and change offices.
No way. So all them staff that you had
So I had 30 odd staff, and they basically worked for me all month, and I couldn't pay them. And if I remember rightly, I mean, it's a long time ago, but I feel like it was around Christmas time. And if any of them still remember, they'll know that eventually HSBC, they did release my funds. And then, and they were all obviously pretty angry about the fact, the staff were all pretty angry about the fact that I couldn't pay them. Whether they believed me or not, I'm not sure. But then I went round to every single person's house, and I made sure that I gave them the money and stuff. So and then I had a little bit left over once HSBC had given me money. And in the meantime, I had all these bank statements in my apartment, and they were in these filing cabinets, and I had thousands, and they were literally all the way around my apartments. Like, you couldn't see a wall for these filing cabinets, and I'd sit there every day going through these bank statements, logging how much we owe, how much we can get back for each customer, and putting it on a spreadsheet. And a couple of staff used to come, Stuart used to come, and somebody else used to come as well. And we'd sit there every single day for 6 months logging at how much we owed. And I remember my friends came around at one point, and they were like, Kam, you've got mold on your walls, because there's no air coming to the things. Yeah. And he said, how can you live like this? This is odd. And I remember being so angry at him, looking at him and saying, listen, my fortune's in these bank statements. I said, if this falls right for me, I said, I'm going to make a lot of money. I said, it may seem crazy to you. I said, but for me, this is like my livelihood. This is what I've worked for a year and a half, 2 years or whatever, doing this. But anyway, so we eventually, the money cleared. We got the bank statements back out. We got another office, and that was in. So the office in Salford, I think that was called Technology House, if I remember. Yeah, and then we got another office then in Manchester City Centre, in Piccadilly Gardens. Now I don't know if you've been to Piccadilly Gardens recently.
Are you talking about 49 Piccadilly?
Yeah, I'm talking about 49
because this is another crazy thing. I was actually in that office. I was actually in that office.
You're vaguely saying something.
Yeah.
49 Piccadilly. We were on the second floor.
Next door to Wetherspoons, up the stairs.
Yeah,
crackheads are there now. The spice.
So we always laugh that if you left that office after 8 o'clock at night, you're risking life and limb.
Yeah.
And honestly, there was times when my Pete's missus, she left the office and she got attacked outside, or one of the staff would get attacked, something like that. I turned up once, and it was on a Saturday morning, and there was a guy there, and he was just sat there at 9 o'clock in the morning with a triangle. It's like a musical instrument.
Yeah.
Just playing that on the doorstep, and I was like, we've got to move from here, man. We really got to move from here. But yeah, so we were there again for and then we started re-employing people and that kind of thing. And then we carried on with the bank charges thing, and we were there for about a year and a half. We ended up with 60 staff there. So we were over 2 floors.
49 Piccadilly.
Yeah, 49 Piccadilly. And that was it. I thought, we'd done really, really well. We were doing really well. You kind of don't keep your feet on the ground and that. And you think, it doesn't matter. Nothing can touch us. And then the legislation changed, and you weren't able to do bank charges anymore. But I knew that was happening. So I was like, okay, no worries. It's fine. Don't worry. We'll do this other campaign. We'll do these. We did.
What made you always think to be able to hop from one thing to another? Because obviously now that's your bread and butter.
Yeah.
The bank charges.
Yeah.
You knew that the legislation was going to change.
Yeah.
What made you think, right? Okay, like, I'll just move on to this. Where was all that come from? Is that just
because I think
do you like reading? Do you like reading it, researching and stuff like that?
So basically, you almost like when you're involved in that industry, you almost like do speak to a lot of other people to see what they're doing and that kind of thing. So you're like, okay, so we're not gonna do bank charges anymore. We're gonna hop onto something else. And the thing that we decided to hop onto was the thing that a lot of people at the time were doing, and it was selling Google AdWords. And I think you did.
Yeah, that's exactly what we used to do.
Yeah, that's what you guys used
ours
to do.
was a little bit different, but yeah, a lot of companies.
But that's what I thought. I thought like a lot of people are doing. It's doing well.
It's doing really well.
I've got a fair bit of money in the bank account. I was like, it's gonna be really difficult for me to mess this up. But anyway, so I had 60 people. We did training with them for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then we had them all dialing. And then after about 6 weeks, my accountant came to me and it was like, "You do know you're losing a lot of money every single week." I was like, "Really?
What business was that?
That was on the Google AdWords."
No way.
Yeah, we lost a lot of money on it.
Where were you losing the money?
I think the guys that we'd kept the guys who
were they on commission only?
No, they were on.
This is the biggest issue.
They were on salary, so I kept them on the same salary that they were on before. Yeah. And I think they just went from doing business to consumer to doing business to business, and they just couldn't do it at all. They couldn't do it. They hardly made any sales.
It is very, very difficult industry,
and it's very different to switch from business to consumer to business for sure. And they really, really struggled. So and then my accountant was like, you're not gonna be able to carry on if you don't call it a day now. You're not going to be able to pay people's wages. And I thought, I've been in this situation before. I just don't want this to happen. So I called everybody together and sat down, and I was like, "This is a situation. I'm really sorry. Like, if we carry on dialing, I'm not going to be able to pay you." So then I paid everybody. I literally pulled cash out or bank transfer, whatever it was, and we paid everybody. And I sent everybody home. And there was a few people. Lisa was one of them. Lisa's my missus. She came up to me and she was like, she'd only worked for us for like a week or whatever. She's like, listen, you seem like a really genuine guy. Whatever you do next, I'm really up for it. And I know you said you've got no money, but I've got some savings and I'm more than willing to do it for free. And inside I thought, that's exactly what I would want to hear, because I've got another idea about what I've got to do, but I've got no money. So I was like, but I didn't say that at the time. I was just like, okay, no worries. And then Pete and Stu, who were my business partners, they just said, whatever you're going to do, we're going to do with you. So it doesn't matter. So then we let everybody go and I went home. And that was probably in business, probably one of the lowest times that I've been, because I thought I've been doing well for a long time. I had this apartment in Manchester, which I could no longer pay for. I'd bought this car and I would have to give it back and that kind of thing. And then I remember that we then, I moved back to my mum's and that kind of thing. And like my mum lives in Darwen. So I remember sitting down with my mum and dad and being quite upset about the whole situation at the time. And my mum and dad just sitting me down and saying, listen, why don't you just get a proper job like your older brother? He said, because you're always doing these businesses and they just don't seem to work. And honestly, I was so annoyed. I was like, and
that's
I remember
the last thing you want to hear.
I just thought this is exactly not what I want to hear at the time. And my mum and dad, they were saying it from a perspective of like looking out for the son. Do you know what I mean? And they could see how upset I was about the whole situation, this, that, and the other, and about what I'd been through. And there was a lot of stuff even before that, which was quite difficult for them to see. To put it into perspective, like I couldn't even afford having to get back to Manchester, like on the train or whatever. So I'd get money off my mum and dad for it when I moved back to them. And they just, and I was just like so angry when they said, why don't you just get a normal job like your brother who's paid well, this, that, and the other. And I was like, look, I can make as much money in a month as if I work for somebody else for a year. So if I work for myself for a month and I have a good month, then I can make that amount of money in a month that it would take somebody else to make in a year. And I remember my mum and dad looked at each other and they're just like, this guy's lost. Like he's not going to learn. So just leave him to it.
This is what I was going to say, because like I said, obviously I've known Kam for over 20, 25 years or whatever it is. And this is one of the traits I picked up from him. And this is when my dad back in the days even said to him, he goes, these are the sort of people you got to keep around you, because just that persistence, any hurdles that came in his way, he would never take no for an answer. And imagine that you're having to move back to your parents.
Yeah, I was 30. I was 30 years old at the
30,
time.
yeah. And just the pride, the amount, pride.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It would hit you so hard, but he was still adamant. I'm going to keep my head above water, and I am going to make this work. And that's one thing. Even just from morning meetings, when at one stage, I mean, he'll get to this. He probably had about 200-300 staff plus. When you have a morning meeting with Kam, you believe in everything he set out for the day. You're going to go on them phones and you think, do you know what? We're actually here and we're actually going to achieve something by the end of this day. And every day was the same feeling. And the reason being is just because that persistence, just not taking no for an answer. And really, really just having that kind of that grit, that determination. It's probably come from growing up in Darwen, do you know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
From the school days and whatnot. I know you had a rough time in school
we had a rough
as well.
time in school.
But just that thick skin and just getting you through that. And obviously your parents, like you said, that must have absolutely killed you for them to say, just go out and get a normal job.
Yeah, definitely. And and for me, it was just like I couldn't believe they were saying it. And for me, and I explained to them, I was like, honestly, I was that close. I was that close to making it. And I said, if a few things had just gone my way, I would have done really well. And I think they said to me, I'm sure that's what you said at the last time that your business failed or the time before that or whatever. But I was just convinced that, and I still in my head, I had an idea about what I was going to do. Even though one business has failed, I was already thinking about what I was going to do with the next one. So we'd been sending some letters to like the banks and stuff and asking them about a different type of claim that was just coming into the market. And it was something called a PPI claim. And then they'd replied to us with like a sheet of probably about 15, 20 responses. And when I looked at the responses, we literally had a letter that said, has this customer has he had a loan and has he paid insurance on it? And they replied back saying yes. And so I had about 20, 30 customers who had a loan and the banks had responded to us and said yes. So I sat at home with these. And then I thought, right, and I felt really, really down at the time. But then I thought, right, okay, I've got an idea about what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a plan now. So I wrote up, back then there wasn't that much WhatsApp. It was all text message. So I wrote this big, long text message to Lisa, to Pete, to Stuart, and a couple of other people who I knew would back me up, whatever I did. And I was like, I've got this idea. This is what we've done. We've sent these letters off. I think that we should be able to make a claim for these customers on their behalf based on this information that I've got. However, I said, I feel like the claims are going to take about between 3 and 6 months to come through. So I would love it if you were able to support yourselves for 3 or 6 months. And then within that time period, if at the end of that time period, if this doesn't work, I will find another way of paying you. And one by one, people started texting me back saying, it doesn't matter what you do or whatever you do, if you've got an idea, we're going to follow you and we're going to come and work for you, no problem, this, that and the other. And then the next day, like I got a train back to Manchester and we sat down, called all the people together. There's about 6, 7 of us in total. And I went through everything about how we were going to do it, this, that and the other, about the finances, how we would finance it. And ultimately, if it didn't work and I wasn't able to pay them, then I'd bought a building, like a warehouse in Blackburn a while ago. And I said, I'm going to sell that anyway if this doesn't work. And I know within 3 months, and I should be able to like pay you.
This was your make or break.
This was my make or break thing, yeah, definitely. And like I remember sitting in my kitchen with Pete and just saying to him, listen, all the experience that I've got from all the things that I've learned from all the failures, I want to put it into this next thing because now I'm absolutely sure that I won't make those same mistakes.
I love it.
And a lot of it is honestly like a lot of the mistakes that I think about in the past or the things that you learn from. It's just a lot of it boils down to complacency or you're not being like, I used to think success was like luck. And I used to look at, people who were successful, financially successful, and just think, yeah, I think I was lucky, man. He was, he fell into the right industry and whatever. But what I realized afterwards is success is about positioning. It's about where you put yourself. And it's a bit like a football game, so to speak. Like, you're not going to score a goal if you stood right at the defense. So you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to take a few knocks. You've got to be in the industry that you want to specialize in. And then when the opportunity comes, you're in the perfect place. Then, do you know what I mean? And that's where I felt that I was at the time. Like I'd had all these failures, but through all those failures, I felt like I'd learned so much. So then we started doing this business, and in a nutshell, like it went really well for the first few months or so, and then they put all the claims on hold, which is a real headache. But we pretty much traded without any income for about I think it was like, so we had a good few months, that the first 4, 5, 6 months that I was able to pay everybody. We had a business, and then the next 8, 9 months after that, all the claims went on hold. So we had to use all the money that we'd got from the first 3, 4 months or whatever, to pay everybody's wages. But we pulled through, and because of the strength and resilience and the grit and determination for all the guys that work for me for free, it's almost like unheard of, especially in this day and age. I can't imagine anybody doing it.
In this day and age, you would never. And that's what I mean. Your circle is still that.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
Your circle,
Yeah,
isn't
100%.
it? And I mean, you've
Yeah,
always looked after them guys. And
Yeah.
them guys have gone on to be, whatever
different
they do,
things,
kind of
and
thing. And
yeah.
they've all been successful. But
No, definitely.
I think that comes down to from just that belief they had in you, because they
Yeah.
had nothing else to go off.
No, definitely,
Just
definitely.
Your
But-
determination,
Yeah.
your failures, and they thought, this guy's going to make it, just because they believe what you said.
So it doesn't matter what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
in some sense, he's gonna at some point he's gonna do all right. But yeah, and for those guys, just really really grateful, because that business went on to do really really well, and we ended up turning over like millions of pounds like over the next 10 years or so. And the business started in 2010. And
this is the office in Deansgate.
This is the office in Deansgate. Yeah,
okay.
we started off in Spinning Fields.
Okay.
Hardman Street.
Yeah, Hardman Street. We started off.
That's
in.
nice.
Yeah, like it was like a 10-person office, really expensive.
Very expensive.
Yeah,
That's
really
really-
expensive. But like it was almost like irrelevant to us, because when we were doing these claims, each claim was like worth, between like £1,000 and £2,500. So I was like, we're gonna get the one of the nicest offices.
Was it the value of the claim or the commission that you got?
The commission that we got.
Wow, up to £2,500.
Between average was probably about 1,250.
Okay.
No, sorry, the average to the customer was about, because the thing is, the customer had multiple claims. So and so to us, each claim was worth about £500, something like that. But some customers were at 6, 7, and some claims were huge. So in hindsight, I just thought to myself, we'll get a really nice office. We'll keep it to this size. We had the ability to extend it, and we did end up extending it on Hardman Square, wasn't it? Hardman Street, yeah, in Spinning Fields. And we ended up taking like the most of the floor, but I think we were there for 2 years. But it was just like it was just too posh for us. Like we were a call center, and next door to us
music
was like
blasting and everything.
Yeah, we had
Barclays there. And
we had Barclays.
WorldPay were in that building as well.
WorldPay, like a lot of the banks are all in that industry, in that area as well, and they hated us, probably because a lot of my staff were young and that
smoking,
kind of thing. Smoking.
Because I first started then. Because funny enough, I was working for the bank. I was working for Lloyd's.
Okay.
And I was actually doing loans, credit, and I was selling this insurance.
Yeah.
Not knowing that, because they used to put pressure on you too to actually sell it, and I've been in that position.
So you're on the other
so
side.
I was on the other side, and then I've left the bank because I didn't like the job, because I got a finance degree and I started working for the bank. My brother got me a job in the bank, but I just didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I've gone full circle. I've come back to Kam and said, Kam, I want to come and work for you. And then turns out they'd actually claim about some of the claims might have been people I've sold the insurance to.
But it was mad what the banks used to do. Like they would literally, you'd go in, you'd be like, okay, I want a loan for like a car or whatever, and they'd say there's £5,000, but loan's not going to get approved unless you take out the insurance. And then they'd go, how much is the insurance? They said, don't worry about how much it is. So your payments are £200. With the insurance, they're going to be £225.
Just implement it, make it sound
make it sound really simple.
Because obviously it's a 5-year loan or a 10-year loan. And
absolutely. So you don't really notice it that much because it's split out over all that time. And majority of people, I was going to say the majority of people that they would target was elderly. And it probably was, to be fair. People who were elderly or people who wouldn't read the small print, people who were desperate.
At that time, you just want to, for an extra £25 a month, you're like, you know what, I'll just do it.
That's what the bank, and like if you're desperate for the loan, you're going to do it. And that's what the banks got fined for. And in total, I think they refunded 22 billion of it. And the banks had to refund, not to us personally,
but in general
to the whole industry. And that was only like half of it. But it was massive, and it was for 10 years. And we employed, at the peak of it, we employed 500 people in Manchester. And probably a bit less than that, probably more like 450, 400, something like that. And 200 people in South Africa. And we just had all these people just ringing people up and, offering them to be able to help them claim this money back. And a lot of people were like, I don't think I'm entitled to anything. And then we'd be like, and we had a terrible relationship, particularly with like the likes of some of the big banks, probably won't name them. But we had a really good relationship with other ones, the ones that Saqib used to work for, and we just like, you know, we claimed a lot of money back for individuals. I think
so. It's a service that helps individuals, because at the end of the day, these type of companies that are winning off the back of insurance policies and all that is, and now it's all coming to light. I know PPI was one of the biggest at that time. There's other ones that have come out, like the Mercedes diesel claim and all
definitely,
these.
and even like the PCP things, which we're a bit involved with at the minute now as well, where people took a car out and they weren't explained things. The thing is, like in the world of finance, like a lot of times people take out loans and finances and things like that, and they just never explain to you properly about what they're paying for, how much they're paying, if they're getting paid commissions and those.
It's like having a mortgage. When you think about them, when we take a mortgage out in the UK, we're probably paying around 70% interest for the first 10, 15 years. We don't really know it.
Yeah.
And then to knock off the amount off the principal.
Yeah.
It's towards the end of the mortgage.
Yeah, definitely.
People don't really understand
so you pay off all the interest in it to begin with. Yeah, for sure.
Even the PPI and these claims management companies, they get a lot of bad press. But
100%. Like I wanted to say that.
And you'll probably touch on this, but the amount of people that are genuinely, I mean, imagine a 70, 80-year-old, you're getting them back, even £3,000-4,000.
Yeah.
How much it would help them.
Like, so I was going to say,
help for people who
when we first started in the industry, it was almost like we were like Robinhood, like, you know, you're taking off the banks and you're giving back to people, and obviously we took a fee. And then as it progressed, I don't know what it was, but I think it was the fact that obviously there was a lot of calls going out, and I think it was partly the bank's propaganda as well, saying don't listen to these call centers, like you can do it yourself and that kind of thing. And they almost changed it round where they said that actually we're the bad guys that we're ringing up because we're making a profit off it. And 100%, we're a business, we're making a profit off it. However, these banks made millions, billions of pounds off people. We never charged these people like the wages or anything like that. We just took it from, and a lot of times we take it. We tell the customers from the banks and that kind of thing, from the refund that they got from the bank, and a lot of times, So like that was the industry that we're in, and that's been my main business through the years, and it was fantastic, that business, because we employed so many young people who.
So you gave back to the community.
Yeah, like especially like in Manchester, around Salford. I mean, we were in the centre of Manchester, so all the outskirts, Middleton in particular. Like how many people work for us from Middleton and Salford and. All those kind of places, and it was an unbelievable time. And if you speak to anybody who worked there at the time, most of them, not everybody, but most of them will say that they had an unbelievable experience.
90% of the people who worked in there would say, and some of the people who were working there, because I remember obviously I was on the phones, and then I was managing. I became a team leader. And there were people there who were earning money they couldn't even dream of. Even now, we're talking about 10, 12 years ago. Even now, they wouldn't earn the money that they were earning there. So obviously, it was a call center, but they were on a decent basic wage. Yeah. And then the bonuses Cam was paying were absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's what we positioned
some of the incentives that you give. I mean, you mentioned some of these. And funny enough, at that time, Wolf of Wall Street had just come out.
Oh, right, okay.
So it just...
Yeah, but Wolf of Wall Street came out after our call centre,
yeah. So it was just mad how...
And how it all kind of linked in. And all our staff were really into it because, like, it was wild. Like, and we had 3 floors on Deansgate. And it was just wild. We just made it a really, really fun environment. You know, like, we gave cars away. We gave...
cars?
We gave a car... Not cars, we gave a car away.
Go on, what car was this?
Monthly incentive to win a car, yeah.
Yeah, to win a car. And then we gave something like... £15,000-20,000 away cash,
around the world trips and
then a trip around the world, and then there was and we'd regularly do like holidays and that kind of thing, all the time. But we heavily incentivized our like work and stuff like that. And
at what point? I know we're going to touch on Hardman Square very quickly, but you said it was around a 10-man office, and then you extended. At what point did the South Africa equation come into this?
So we moved from Hardman Square, Hardman Street, to Deansgate, number 86 Deansgate, and then that all like we expanded really, really quickly. Like we ended up with 3 floors before you know it, and I think that in like 2000 and the business had started in 2010, and by 2015, 2016, we had like 400 people in the UK, and then at that point,
But can I just, sorry to pause you there, can I ask you, like, who's having these conversations with you to say, right, let's recruit,
Me.
having it with yourself.
I'm having it with myself. I'm having it. So my business partner's Pete and Stu. So, it was a running joke. They'd be like, we were full. We were doing really well. We're doing financially. We're doing good as well. We get the reports from the accountant. Everything was going well. And they'd say, Cam would call us into the back office, and he'd call us in, and he'd go, "You never guess what, lads?" And they'd say, "What?" And I'd be like, "The 5th floor is available."
Oh, I love it.
They'd be like, "What do you mean?" And I'd be like, "Let me come show you." So I'd take them up to the 5th floor, and I'd already spoken to the building people by this point, saying that we're definitely taking it. And then I'd say, "What do you reckon? Like, we can get 120, 130 more people on this floor, this, that, and the other." And I could just see that they were nervous, and they were just like, "If you want, but maybe we should just solidify for a couple of years or a year, something like that." And I was like, "Nope, we're just going to recruit, and we're going to expand, and we're going to expand," and it was going to expand. And everybody in that business had targets. So the staff, the call center staff had targets, the managers had targets, the floor managers had targets, and me and the other directors, Pete and Stu, we had targets, and we had to hit them. That was it. And as soon as we hit them, then it was time to go, right, okay, how do we raise the bar again? And for me, that was one of the key elements of success in business. You have to set yourself a target and not a goal, because a goal is almost just like, that's what we would like to do. And I would just be like, this is what we have to hit as a call center. If we hit this, then we'll do X, Y, and Z. And it was the same with the management team. We have to hit these numbers without fail. And every month we just increased our numbers, sometimes by 10, 15, 20%.
There's no ceiling, was there?
There was no ceiling, yeah. And I was just like, let's just get more and more people on it, more people on it. And then I bumped into one of my old employees, a guy who works in South Africa now, a guy called Matthew Bilowski. And he was like, "Do you want to go for a coffee?" I was like, "Sure." So I went across the road, and I was like, "What are you doing now?" And he was like, "I'm in South Africa. So I'm doing I don't know if he was doing the same thing as me or something else. And I think he was doing the same thing. And I was like, "What are they like in South Africa? Surely they must like speak with a bit of an accent and that kind of thing." And you just have this picture of South Africa. Well, I did anyway at the time, of being like, in safari land and kind of thing, really naive, to be fair. And he was like, "Listen to this." So he played me a call recording from one of his guys. And I was like, "Oh my God, they sound amazing." And he was like, "Yeah, they're really, really good." And I was like, "Okay." And then I'd been thinking about outsourcing for a while. And I'd been over to India to have a look at the outsourcing situation. And I hated it. I hated the setup. I hated just the way that it was. And I just feel like it was difficult for the Indian guys from the call centers to connect with like our customers. And then I went to the Philippines, and it was just a bit of the same. But when I listened to the South African guys, and with the South African guys, the difference is that English is the first language. They just sounded really, really good. They sounded like people that I would listen to. So I was like, right, the next day, got on a flight, met Matthew. The next couple of days, I met Matthew out there, and he showed me around his call center. It was a really good setup. Told me how much each employee cost. He helped me with getting set up and everything like that. And then that was it. I was like, right, let's start recruiting in South Africa now, because it's costing me probably half of what it cost me in the UK. And it was getting very expensive in the UK as well. So I went out there. I left Peter and Stuart to run the operation in the UK, which they did really well. And I set up a call center in South Africa. And that was about 2016, I think, something like that. And then we ended up having 200 people there, and I loved South Africa. Wow. I ended up living there for 7 years. It was stunning. But in the midst of all that as well, we'd also set up an office in Dubai. And this is really random, but the office in Dubai would do like, they'd look out for like, if there was any technical faults. We had a couple of people who were able to help with, like, helping with spreadsheets and admin, and they ended up doing like quality as well, marking quality and that kind of thing. So we had about 30 people in Dubai at that time as well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So we had some people in the UK, some people in Dubai, and some people in South Africa. And they were all pretty much helping with like the same business, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was a really, really good time working at HYC. And I think the lessons that I learned from were like really, really good, and things that I think will hold me in good stead for future, not just for myself, also for the other people, the managers, the advisors, and that kind of thing. And I think ultimately the key things for me were just like, no matter, and we had obviously in all businesses, and you guys know, somebody asked me the other day, they was like, "How's your business going?" And I said, the business just goes. I said, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, and sometimes I'll have a month which will really, which will which we'll do really, really well with, and then we'll have another couple of months which we don't do so well with. I said so, but you've just got to learn from all those experiences, and do you know what I mean? And just take the rough with the smooth a little bit as well. To be fair,
enjoy the ride. Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that once you're an entrepreneur, I don't even like using the word entrepreneur sometimes. I think it's a bit like overused. I just think if you're a person that likes having their own business, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you fail or whatever. You could never dream of going and working for somebody else. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's really, really, really difficult. Just the thought of having to go listen to somebody else and work for somebody else, that's enough to drive me for whatever to work for myself, even through the tough times and the good times and whatever. That's driver enough for me just to say, I like my lifestyle. I like how I can pick what I want to do when I want to do. And it's definitely not easier working for yourself either. But at least you're in control of what you do on a daily basis and that kind of thing.
I think there are people that are cut out to work well under pressure. And I think entrepreneurs, I know it's an overhyped word per se, but that label or that tag, I think kind of relates more to that grit that you got to, when you wake up in the morning, you're not waking up at 9 a.m. to get to the office. You're waking up at 4 in the morning that people don't really know about. And all these, like, you would know, and I have been in that situation myself actually, where I've been at a moment in my business where I couldn't actually pay wages. Yeah. And I know how that feels. Definitely. And it's like, and I think at that time I was probably 21, 22. Yeah. So it's like, and we didn't grow to that extent. But it was just, that's why I wanted to, I've always been slightly in my journey, I've always kind of been slightly scared to expand it to a certain point. Cause you're talking 200, 300, 400 people. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, for me, I think this is one of the rules. It's more difficult now. Like, I never had a family then. Right. And I think this is, I don't know, some people work really well with, I mean, I've got a family, but I don't mean like I had kids and stuff that. I never had kids and stuff. But I think the real benefit of not having any fear at that point is that you have no responsibilities either. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, it doesn't matter. I came into this business with nothing. If I leave with nothing, then who cares?
I love it.
The cars can go back. The apartment can go back. This, that, and the other. Like, I can't take ultimately, if the business fails again, I've been in this situation, I'll just do it again. Do you know what I mean? But I think now that I've got kids, now it's a little bit different. Now you're almost like, okay, you can't afford to go too close to the wire, because if you do, then your kids are going to suffer and they're not going to be able to go to school and that kind of thing.
Are you saying, from what you're saying, are you saying you're playing it safe now, or are you still?
No, I'm saying I'm playing it safer. Than what I did back then. Back then I didn't care. Like, I was just like, I could see this business growing, and I was just like, I just gonna go with it. But I think if the situation occurred again now, I think I'd probably do the same. Because
what is your plan now? Like, what's your vision now moving forward? I know you don't like the word gold, but like, what's your next target now? Yeah. Like, what do you want to do? What does Kam want to do now?
I think like I've got a property portfolio in the UK, which is like fine, and it covers my day-to-days and that kind of thing. And I think when I think about it now, like, and I lived in South Africa for 7 years, and partly the reason for me moving to Dubai was because I felt like I was a little bit out of, I don't know what the right word is, but I felt like I was like not in the game as much as I should be and getting too relaxed. So I went to South Africa, and I just felt like after, like, we closed the other business, the big business, we still got a small business there, but I felt like I was just taking too much of a backseat. So I thought I'll move to Dubai just so I'm a bit more in the thick of things.
You don't like the comfort zone, do you?
No, I don't like the comfort zone at all. And I did it for like obviously a few years and whatever. And I was just like, I feel like I'm wasting myself. So then now my plan is, I've come to Dubai. I've started buying apartments to put on short-term Airbnb.
Why Dubai though? Why Dubai? You could have gone anywhere in the world. Yeah. I know you looked at other places.
Yeah, we looked at other places.
Why Dubai?
So for a start, because like I've got a long history with Dubai. That's the first thing. Like, I've been coming here since I was 5 years old. My cousin lived here, and as kids we used to come visit him, and stay with his family and that. So we always had that like affiliation with it. But then I think as I got older now, for me, one of the main things is just the safety. I lived in South Africa, where every single house has got barbed wire. Every single mum has got a story about getting robbed, about being held up at gunpoint and that kind of thing. And my missus was terrified of that happening. The first day that we even got to South Africa, she was like, somebody's following us in the car. I was like, they're not following us, trust me. But then sometimes I'd need to work away. So I'm away 2-3 weeks at a time on business and whatever. And the missus and kids stay in the house. And like I said, don't get me wrong, the house is like super, like if anybody crosses any, even if like a bird fly past, the alarm goes off and people turn up with like automatic weapons and stuff ready to get them. Yeah, that's like
gated
literally
community.
Yeah, well, it was a gate. I didn't want to live in a gated community because I just feel like they're too enclosed. And we lived in a different house which backed onto a wine farm, and we didn't have all that. And I was just really casual about things. Do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even put the alarm on sometimes, and then my missus would come home and she'd be like, "Oh, such and such a body got held up at gunpoint, and they tried taking the car, or they took the wedding finger off and chopped the finger off, or whatever." Like it's pretty intense. And then people's kids getting kidnapped as well, and that kind of thing. Wow. So as my kids were getting a bit older and I was working away a little bit, I just thought, if I get a situation like that, how do I deal with it? Like, what do I do? And I thought, like, it would be so terrible of me just to stay there and not move to Dubai when the options there. And also, Dubai was always like my first plan. I didn't plan to move to South Africa. I just went to South Africa and fell in love with it. And Dubai was always like the first place where I wanted to come. And I thought, if I want to almost like move away from the call center industry and get into things like real estate and other businesses as well, I thought for me, and to keep my mind active, my kids are going to be safe here, and there's no better place for me to get my mind active than come to Dubai and meet people who, you sit in a coffee shop. We went for we went for a meal the other day, and we bumped into people who've got their own businesses and they've got their own garages. And there was a guy, he did like he owned his own medical center here, this, that, and the other. And I love just speaking to other people who are just almost like on the same level, and that kind of thing. So, and there's obviously the financial benefits of it as well. Like, I can't tell you how much tax I paid in the UK. Our wage bills was ridiculous.
Were you paying weekly or monthly? Because
we paid monthly.
Okay.
Yeah, we paid.
Did you like it monthly or?
Did we pay what the wages?
Yeah. Did you like paying monthly wages
to the staff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always used to pay on every Friday.
Oh, I hated payday.
That's the worst thing you could do.
I absolutely hated payday because the fact that...
Yeah, but your monthly bills are big stinger.
It was huge, yeah.
But then looking at the other, you're just setting them up for a heavy weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Weekly,
yeah, that's true.
That was the one thing that I used to do weekly.
Did you do it weekly as well?
At the start, we used to pay cash in hand at the start, like when we first got our first 5-6 staff.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the worst. It was worse now because Monday they were all coming in really rough.
So the problem is with a lot of the stuff, they were all just like, comes to like Friday night, they get paid or whatever, and then they just go out and get smashed. That's sometimes it's the nature of salespeople. Do you know what I mean? And it is what it is. But yeah, I would never have paid weekly. I think I maybe did it for a while, but it was just too. And it was also from an admin point of view, it was really, really difficult to pay people weekly.
Yeah, I suppose.
So monthly.
I just thought for me, because I did start off monthly, and I thought that bill, man, it's just hard to swallow that bill.
It was a really, really, like at one point I looked at the wage bill, including the national insurance and everything like that, and if you can imagine for 500 people, and I was just like, people said like, and other people knew how much the wage bill was, and they said, did it not like phase you? And I was like, not in the slightest. It never. They said, how could you sleep at night knowing that you had like such a big wage bill and whatever? And I was like, it just didn't bother me one bit.
It must have been over $500,000.
Yeah, over $500,000.
Well over $500,000.
$500,000, yeah. Because at one point it was close to £1 million.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Because you look at staff that are on like 18, 20k salaries.
Yeah, and then bonuses on top of it and everything like that, and then national insurance. So at one point it was a lot. And like honestly, looking back on it, like when I think about all the costs which are associated with a business like that in the UK, like it's just wild. But
extortionate, isn't it? It's extortionate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We were doing it
business rates as well.
Business rates.
That's a killer.
Your VAT, income tax, your corporation tax, you name it. You just get. And I was like pretty young and naive, and I really wasn't that bothered, to be fair. I was like, we're making money, so it's fine. We just got to pay all these things, and that's it. And that's one of the other major reasons for coming to Dubai.
This falls into, because when we speak to majority of our clients are coming from the UK at the moment.
Yeah,
that's pretty much exactly
what everybody's saying.
Word for word, that's what they come out with. That. This is what we kind of want to set up in Dubai. Obviously, the safety thing, it gives you that peace of mind. You can go away now for like you do every
I would travel every
once
2
a month
weeks,
at least. You're going, and
definitely.
Peace of mind you've got. Everything is fine. Your kids are fine. Your missus is fine. Your house is fine.
Definitely.
And you can go, and you've literally not got that tension.
Absolutely. It's a big thing. Like and like where else in the world do you have that level of security?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there that level of security in Manchester? I don't think so. I lived in Manchester once. Somebody ran through my front door. I was in an apartment, and they got the wrong house, but they still ran through the door. But so yeah, I don't know where else in the world. I can't think where you maybe Singapore or whatever. But where else in the world can you have that level of security where you can go away for 2-3 weeks at a time?
I think we take it for granted as well, because I remember me and Sax came to see your office in Cape Town. When we landed in the airport, oh my God, I was like, this is not Dubai, take me back, I just want to go back to Dubai.
You do get spoiled here though.
Oh, without a doubt. Like I think people who stay here and then leave, I think the struggle, the adjustment must be really difficult.
You raise the bar quite high.
Yeah, definitely. Whereas I've come from South Africa and I'm coming to Dubai, and I'm like, okay, everything is good here. You know what I mean? Everything is like efficient here.
Whereas if you did it the other way around,
then it'd be a bit difficult. Yeah, definitely, because you'd be like, oh, this doesn't work properly. Like, I'm used to, like, we lived in one place in South Africa where you couldn't even order a takeaway.
Wow.
So, and we lived in that place, and it was near the beach, and it was beautiful. It's called Landudno, and you couldn't even order a takeaway. So for 6 months, me and my missus, we never had takeaway. And even to go to the nearest shop, it was a 15-minute drive to the shop. And then you'd be in the shop for 15 minutes and then 15 minutes back. No deliveries there whatsoever. And it was beautiful, but you're so cut off. And then you come to Dubai and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you need washing up liquid or whatever in your house.
And you got noon
you press
minutes.
a button and it turns up in 15 minutes. And it's just like, this is wild, yeah. And then you've got the petrol thing here where, you know, they can just come and put petrol in your car and that. So
do you know the story behind Noon Minutes? Do you know it's Emar's owner? Emar actually owned Noon.
Oh, really? I never knew that.
And he was so smart. He built hubs around the whole city.
Yeah.
Where like ghost hubs, you know, ghost kitchens.
Okay, yeah.
You never really see them.
Yeah.
Some of them are actually underground.
Wow.
It's mad.
Yeah.
So underneath these apartment buildings, they'll have like little huts.
No way.
And that's how fast he made the city. That's the vision.
Yeah.
He made the city in such a way where within 15 minutes you'll get your item.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, like Amazon.
Yeah,
on steroids.
But for food and stuff like that. But within 15 minutes, it's wild, isn't it? But again, like I said, I don't know anywhere in the world where you get this level of service or where you can order literally whatever you want at any time of day and night.
Kind of wanted to touch on, obviously, just on that topic as well. Is that one of the main factors of why you actually invested in Dubai then the first time round? Did you see a growth? Did you see a vision of where Dubai was heading?
Yeah, definitely. Because I've been coming to Dubai, like I said, since I was 5 years old. I'm 46 now, I think.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm 46. So I've been coming to Dubai for 40 years. And the progress that I've seen over the last 40 years has just been unbelievable. There was a time when I used to come and we just used to go to Jumeirah Beach. And that was it.
That was it, yeah.
And then JBI popped up and there was just this one street with a few restaurants on either side and whatever. And then we came a few years later and there was the whole extra part of JBI being built and whatever. And it was just unbelievable, like the progress that they made. So when there was an opportunity to like invest in something in Dubai, and it was a new area, Emaar Beachfront.
Yes, of course.
To invest there, I jumped at the opportunity and they were all saying this is going to be like, they had said it was going to be like the new JBR, so to speak.
So for those that are watching, Emaar Beachfront is a man-made type of addition to Dubai Harbour, and it's in between JBR and the Palm Jumeirah.
Yeah.
So I think that location speaks a lot of volumes because of where it is.
Definitely.
And you're getting the views of the marina on one side, the Palm on the other, and then obviously skyline views as well.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing investment.
Prime location.
It's an amazing like property, and like the location is just really, really good. And I bought that, I'm sure it was around COVID time. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
I think did you get a post handover on yours? Post handover payment plan, do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, then it would have been definitely COVID.
I think so. I think no, when it was completed, then I had to pay everything.
Okay,
it was around COVID time.
I think it was around COVID time, but it's only been finished for the last 2 years. But I think I initially bought it around COVID time, and with other properties as well in Business Bay.
Yeah.
And this Emaar Beachfront one, your sole focus is purely short-term Airbnb.
Yeah, it's never. I don't think I've ever even been in the apartment, to be honest with you.
No way.
I've never been in it. No, I've seen it from a distance, but I've never actually been in it. But yeah, ever since I bought it, it was never fit to live in or whatever. Too small for me now, anyway, with the number of kids I've got. So instead now it's just on short term. So I bought it, and like then the value just started going up and up and up.
Do you mind touching on what you bought it for?
Yeah, if I can remember properly. So I bought it for. Does a 1.8 sound about right?
I think it's lower than that.
1.6. I think
1.6. During COVID times, it would have been 1.6.
So it was about 1.6 I bought it for.
Unbelievable now.
Yeah.
You look at it.
And now, like, I get people ringing me every day for it. I think it is a one bed. There's only one bed. And, like, people now ringing me up every day saying, like, sell it for 3 million or whatever. So it's virtually doubled in that period of time. And, like, anybody who stays in it on the Airbnb side, they just love it. People love it. People are always messaging saying, like, can I book it out for a month or whatever? And it's been really, really successful.
It's got a private beach as well at the bottom of it.
Yeah,
so
it's got a private
lot of people
beach.
like that.
You can use that. It's got a gym, pool, all those kind of things. But if I'm honest with you, like, to begin with, when somebody told me that, like, it's, the main thing in Dubai is how much properties increase, I didn't think it would increase the amount that it did. And maybe I've been a bit lucky in that sense. But it's, like, out of all the properties I've bought, and I bought quite a few in the UK, like, it's the one that's had the biggest price increase.
Wow.
I'll
tell you why that is, and you know what, hats off to you, because you would have done your due diligence at that time. But the developer is key, location is key, the payment plan's key. And I think when you tick all them boxes, that's when it becomes a really good investment.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you could have picked up Emaar Beachfront, and it wouldn't have been called that, but that particular project anywhere else, for example, in Damac Hills 2, or, you know what I mean, these type, it just all comes down to location, and that's why location.
Definitely.
That kind of is the reason why, because they're very, very sought after.
Yeah.
You can't get apartments with the Emaar anymore that are water facing, marina views, palm, you know what I mean, all them boxes, and you got in at the right time. And I want to touch on the short-term business that you're running, because you're not only owning these properties, you're actually managing these properties.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm guessing the friends of friends, and you've got properties that you're managing for them as well. So is that what your next target is to build a short-term?
So that's pretty much the reason why I'm in Dubai, although now I've come to Dubai and I see other opportunities, and you're like, oh, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do this. But my primary reason for coming to Dubai was the fact that, so I've got a few apartments like through the on short term, and now I've got a few more that are in the process, all my own, going through at the minute. But what I really want to do now is I want to start getting involved with handling other people's apartments, so people who have got it on long term. And I think to begin with, I was a little bit skeptical of saying to somebody, right, okay, I want to take your apartment, you've got it on long term, I want to put it on short term, because I wasn't quite sure how much of a benefit was. Because if you speak to any company, like a lot of them, they will almost like sell you the dream, and they go, oh yeah, put it with us, you'll get 25, 30, 40% more on your returns if you do it short term. And it's not always the case, to be fair. So I wanted to do it for myself with my own apartments first, see what my return on investment looked like in comparison to, because I had a couple of them on for short term, a long term as well, in comparison with short term. And I've been able to compare both the models and see how they benefit. And all my short term rentals are about 20 and 25% more than what you would get on a long term.
What are we looking at in terms of net? Would you say touching north of 10, 11, 12?
I'd say 10.
10
I'd say 10
on
if
average.
you're doing well net, yeah. But there's a few things that like really impact that, and I think one of them is like if you're gonna pay somebody else to do it, then like say for instance they're always gonna take like 15, 20%, whatever they take or whatever. So that's gonna impact your return on investment. And if you can do it yourself, then fantastic. But obviously it's not feasible. I mean, I don't do it myself. We manage things on a little bit of a higher level. But I've got a really good. Is my cousin actually who works for me, and he's worked for me for a long time since we first set up the business in 2012. And he's really efficient with doing all the check-ins and getting everything ready for the guests and that kind of thing. And all the reviews have got to be good as well if you're going to put your apartments on Airbnb. But yeah, net, I think if you can do 10%, then you're doing well. I do think there's an opportunity to do it to get higher as well, through other things, through maybe not using Airbnb so much, using like other platforms, which, if I'm honest with you, I've not got a huge amount of experience with. But I think it's something when we start managing other people's apartments, we'll also link into these other platforms. Like a lot of people in Saudi, they use like Booking.com and any other platforms that's available. But I think now, like it's been a bit of a process, to be honest with you, like getting, like I've got 3 or 4 other apartments just finalizing the next couple of days. getting them through the system and getting them on. So I'm really looking forward to doing that and then starting to push things forward with it.
No, I like that. I'm glad that I've asked you that question as well, because now a lot of the people that are watching this podcast and even our clients, we referred across to you as well in terms of they want to go down the short-term route. So I would highly recommend anyone getting in contact with yourself when it comes to short-term, because you've got the experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's your day-to-day and it's your net. And look, from your story, from whatever I've heard so far today, it's always been great, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And I think your move to Dubai, and you mentioned as well about 5 minutes ago, and Eddie was laughing his head off. He's like, you're always looking for the next opportunity.
Yeah.
And I just think, you know what, it's inspiration for me as well, because like we're in this little bubble where we do property and yes, we do off plan, but you've kind of looked at Dubai in a different lens. So we say it's not only just been, I'm going to do short term.
Yeah.
What other opportunities are there?
Definitely. Like, I'm
going into the car business.
Oh, like I didn't know if I was going to mention that or not, but I wanted to talk to you guys about after that. Yeah, like I was telling you, like I was renting a car off a guy, and then he's like, and he's a really nice guy. I've rented cars off him for a long time, and like he was telling me about how his business runs and that kind of thing, and I was like, there's got to be an opportunity here. And then when he taught me through some of the headline figures, I was like, there's definitely a business here. You know what I mean? There's definitely a business here. But then also, and Dubai is really inspirational for things like that, because, you know, you end up speaking to like the car hire guy who comes dropping the car off or whatever, and he tells you about his boss who started off like just with one car, and now he's got like 100 cars, and he's only been in Dubai for like 5 years or whatever. And you hear about the other person who, you know, came from India, Pakistan or whatever.
Success stories.
Success stories, and they're all around you. And it's so inspirational. And I think when you're surrounded by people who are doing well or in the process of doing well or on that journey, then it inspires you and it pushes you to do it as well. And I think if you surround yourself and, you know, your immediate circle and your wider circle as well, if you surround yourself with people who want to do well, then it almost becomes natural for you to want to do well as well. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, Dubai for me is just the world of opportunity. If there's something that you want to do, there's no red tape. Well, there is a little bit, like you just got to get your Emirates ID and your business visas and that kind of thing. But look, I got a business visa in South Africa. It took me 4 years to get a business visa in South Africa. And I'm like, do you guys not want my money? Do you not want my money? Like, you know, do you not want me to invest?
They're very fast to take.
Yeah, they're just like, okay, boom, do this, get your Emirates ID. We're going to give you a golden visa for 10 years or whatever. Stay here for as long as you like, open a business. But all you got to do is just follow these guidelines. The structure here for setting up your own business is just really, really clear. Whereas in a lot of other countries, it's a little bit more difficult. But yeah, for me, Dubai is really inspirational. The fact that you can just look around and you've got all these success stories of people who started off in way worse conditions than you and are doing now way better than you. So,
this is the thing as well, especially with us, and again, going back to the UK as well, but people actually want to come out here. They actually want to work with you as well. There's that kind of, there is competition, don't get me wrong, but I know for a fact I could come up to you and say, look, Kam, I've got some clients. Off-plan properties are they're going to be ready next month. We want you to manage them.
Definitely, because you understand business. The problem that you've got is like it's like back in the UK a little bit. Like if you were to go and have, or if we were working almost like in the same fields, you'd be like, I don't want to tell him or her what I'm doing in case he takes my ideas, or in case they start doing short term as well, or he starts selling properties or whatever. But here it's just very different. It's just very different. Everyone wants to network. Everybody understands what they're here for. Everybody wants to like
journey. Everybody's done the same journey.
So they know, absolutely. And Dubai's a very special place for sure.
Have you got a company set up at the moment for the short term stays?
No, not yet. That's the next step now. So I don't because I'm like a lot of the properties I'm doing are just my own. I think I've got like I don't have to set up like a company yet, but I think that's probably going to happen in the next probably a few months, whatever. But I think before, I don't want to take on anybody else's apartments until I was absolutely sure about how the industry worked and how we were managing our own apartments. So I would imagine now that my apartments that we're getting are going through, we'd get them online. Once they're online, then I think we'd set up a company and then start to market.
It's inevitable. You're going to have, especially, I think you were saying Pete.
Yeah, me and Pete are getting involved.
Rapid, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to add quite a few apartments pretty quickly. I say quickly, but the ones that I've just added recently, they've taken me like a little bit longer. Probably my own fault for a few things or whatever. But I think once Pete gets into gear as well, I think we'll probably add quite a few apartments quite quickly. And like I said, my business in South Africa as well, we've got like a marketing company a call center as well in South Africa. The plan would probably be to start contacting people who are currently renting long term, explaining them to the benefits of renting short term, and then seeing if they want to move their apartments over. So I am really excited to do that because I've been in Dubai now for like 9 months, I think, and just really looking forward to getting it off the ground.
Yeah. No, it's honestly been a very insightful conversation.
No, definitely.
I don't think I've actually missed out anything. I've kind of understood everything from A to Z, like what you've done, and obviously your journey in Dubai now has just officially started over the last 9 months. So I do wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
It's definitely a pleasure to have you on. Any other questions, Zach?
Well, that's it. Just thank you very much for giving us an insight. And definitely, like I said, we've all come on a similar journey. So it's just good to see where you started and where you are now, and it's not all about success. It's not all glitz and glamour. No. It's a lot of hard work, determination, definitely. All the hurdles you've overcome.
It's the journey, isn't it? The journey is probably the most important thing, and whatever. And like I said, even just seeing you guys, and I like when you first came out here on your own, where you came out with your family, and then your family went back, whatever. And I know, Ali, you came out here on your own as well. Like, that takes some proper balls to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was hard, especially when you've got family. Like I said, I think for me it'd be a lot different now if I had the family. But in seeing your guys' journey from working, for a different company to then opening up for yourself and then getting the deals coming in, this, that, and the other. And we've had a lot of discussions over dinner about where you guys are going to end up. And I love listening to you guys as well about what you do and how you do it. Even though I've never sold a property in my life, but I'm so intrigued about what you guys do and how you do it. So and also just really, really. Like proud for me to see like your journey as well, where you're up to and how you're getting on and that kind of thing. And all the success to you guys as well. Thank you very much.
Tissues,
man.
Tissues.
I hope you brought any tissues. Yeah.
Another quick question. I wanted to ask you in regards to the properties that you bought in Business Bay recently.
Yeah.
How was your journey? And could you explain how you went through that process and who guided you with that?
Well, obviously with you guys like knowing the area really, really well, and I think. Particularly like I mean you guys pointing me in the direction of Peninsula and about what it was going to be like and the fact that it's going to be different to like the whole community, like different to the it's not like a singular building.
Because we had the conversation about 3 years ago, I think it was initially, and then 100%. It's mad that I was
and then obviously with your guys' expertise helping me, like because Dubai is so big, like it's so confusing. You don't know which development you should go for, what you feel. So I think the benefit was speaking to Saqib, he's like, okay, what do you want it for? I want it for short-term rent. And he's like, right, okay, Business Bay is going to be your best bet. And this development or these few developments, if you choose from them, they're probably going to work out the best for you. And just having that person, like, I think the biggest thing is with Saqib, like, I know that it's just that trust. Do you know what I mean? And no matter what, I know that he's always got my best interests at heart. And he can say to me, buy this, and I know that he's not going to point me to an area where like he might be making loads of commission or whatever, but for me it's just not going to work. So just having that person almost like on the inside, knowing which area I should buy, what it's for, and how much I should pay as well, always, because you always just get that thing, don't you, with like, and I've had a few experiences of this dealing with different real estate agents giving you actually one price but it actually being a different price with the actual seller. And then when I found out about it, I'm like, what's going on here? So it's just always good to have somebody there, and also there's the ability to negotiate as well, even on your behalf. But the biggest thing for me is just having that trust, knowing the ins and outs of how everything pans out and what area is the best based on what your strategy is. I'd imagine like if it was a long-term off-plan property, it would be different. If it was short term, or if you wanted to sell it at the end of it, it would be different. If it was short term, it'd be a different area and that kind of thing. But yeah, for me, having you guys as somebody who I can just rely on or ask about or point me in the right direction with these properties has been super, super helpful. And for that, I'm grateful, because who knows where I would have ended up buying properties otherwise. Do you know what I mean?
No, you definitely bought in the right positions. Yeah. Peninsula was one of our biggest best-selling projects.
Yeah.
Select Group is a developer that we know very, very well from Manchester as well.
Yeah.
And they specialise in waterfront plots.
Yeah.
So when you look at Marina Gate in Dubai Marina, it's one of the highest sought-after buildings.
Actually, yeah.
And Peninsula is like a man-made, not a man-made, but it's like a Peninsula is like an island. They've got 7 residential towers. One of them's branded by Jumeirah, hospitality brand. So where you bought, in terms of short term, because it was one of the first ones to hand over.
Yeah.
A lot of people are now starting to understand what Peninsula is about.
Yeah, and even when I look at the values of the Peninsula ones, like I don't know, like the people bought them off plan, like
600, 700,000 for a studio.
Now they sell for 1.4.
Easy.
Wild.
Easy.
In the space of 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. And like I said, so I think it's so important to know where to buy, because if you don't, like if I was just sat in the UK and I was like, oh, that looks like a nice picture, or that looks like
the brochures look, they all look amazing.
Everything looks amazing, yeah. And I actually did that once. I walked into a developer. They had like an open day in the Hilton, and I went in and I paid like a holding deposit, I think, something like that. I don't know what I paid it for, but I never got it back. and I changed my mind, because this developer in question, everyone like gave me a lot of feedback, said, oh, it's bad. Like,
stay away from them.
Stay away from them. So I did. And I was like, can I have the money back? And then I never heard from them again. And I tried for a long time to get my money back, but I was never able to get the money back. So, and like I said, if you just sat in the UK and you're looking at the internet, everybody makes it sound like the project that they're selling is the best. But when you come out here and you speak to guys like you guys, who you've got your back and that kind of thing, you just know you're going to be pointed in the right direction. And when it does come to, if you want to sell it in 4 years' time or 3 years' time, whatever it is, you're going to get a good return on it, good return on your investment. Or if you want to put it on short term, then it's going to, like, short term's so important to get in the right area. Otherwise, for a lot of the time, your apartment's going to be empty.
Yeah.
Like, my apartments are never empty. They're never, like, if I showed you the calendar, they were just like full most of the times, and I got amazing reviews. And then obviously, if you want to live as well, then it's got to be the right area. Sure. And I think you mentioned at the start, Ali, you said it's all about location. And I think with Dubai, it's so true. Depending on what you're coming to Dubai for, like, and what you want to use your apartment for, you have to know that information before you just start offering like areas and apartments and buildings.
Otherwise, you're just leading the blind, isn't it? Really,
definitely,
it's very, very hard.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Kind of pinpoint.
So that fact find at the beginning, I think, is so important, and that's what you did with me. Is like, okay, what do you want it for?
Because the Emaar beachfront, like you said, you've never even been to it, or you've got a prime location. You're getting really good return on it. You're not bothered about it. You're an investor. You're not bothered about it.
Absolutely. I'm not going to live there.
Whereas if you were going to live somewhere, now it's an emotional decision.
Oh, without a doubt.
Speak to your wife and obviously make sure it's right for your kids.
Then you got to check the schools and all everything. That kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a huge. It's just different worlds.
Yeah, and I imagine. Let's just say, for instance, the Emaar beachfront apartment was big enough to host all my family. Yeah. And the school they go to at the minute, like, it just wouldn't work. Do you know what I mean? Because and honestly, when we looked at schools, went all around Dubai to look at schools, and we eventually came to a decision to a school that was like 35 minutes and like an hour away in traffic. So then we needed to be like, right, okay, we need to find somewhere close to that and whatever. So like, all these factors are super important about when you're buying a property. And again, like I said, for me, the Emaar beachfront doesn't matter. I was never going to live there. It was just purely as an investment, as an Airbnb. And every now and again, my family come out here, with it being on short term, and they're like, I'm like, just don't book anywhere, like, just stay there. If it's just like, a couple of them, or my nephews and my nieces and stuff, I'm just like, just stay there. Just let me know the dates that you come in, this, that, and the other. So you've always just got that flexibility as well with short term, that if you want to use it for yourself, or if you want to give it to a family member, and that, you can do that as well.
Honestly, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and look forward to seeing you on the next pod.